in Kenya's impeccable global reputation in matters athletics, and this particular motion will be moved by the Senator for Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei. Pursuant to standing orders of the Senate, order number 53, subsection 1, a couple of senators will be seeking statements in regards to various issues. The very first statement given priority in the order paper this afternoon is a statement by Senator for Kitui County, Senator Enoch Wambua, who will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Matters Finance and Budget. And his statement regards the status of the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, collections over the last 6 months. A nominated Senator George Mbugua, will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Matters Labor and Social Welfare on the legal structure as well as operations of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya, that is NFDK. Senator for KBC County, Senator Richard Onyonka, will also be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Matters Finance and Budget. And this particular statement concerns claims of financial as well as economic crisis in the country. There are 3 more senators who will also be seeking statements pursuant to that particular standing order number 53, subsection 1. A look at standing order number 56, subsection 1B. We have chairpersons of various committees who will be issuing statements relating to activities of the commission and to just the activities of the committees rather. And just to mention some of the chairpersons expected to make communication is Chairperson Standing Committee on Matters Information Technology and Communication, the Chairperson Standing Committee on Matters Energy, as well as the Chairperson on Finance and Budget, and finally the Chairperson Standing Committee on Matters Health, who will be issuing a statement relating to the activity of the committee. Pursuant to Standing Orders number 57, subsection 1, the Senate Leader of Majority will be issuing a statement on the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, April 18th, that is next week. A total of 12 reports will also be tabled this afternoon. These particular reports reports from the Auditor General on how various county governments as well as state institutions used monies allocated to them in the budget for the year ended June 30th, 2022. These particular reports will be tabled by the Senate Leader of the Majority Party. The business of the Senate is just about to commence. The Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Emerson Kingi, is in the chambers this afternoon. And I'll hand over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing and good afternoon.
House your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Kindly ring the bell for 10 minutes.
Medium close-up.
the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Kingi, presiding over the business of the Senate, this afternoon has directed the Sergeant-at-Arms to ring the Quorum bell, and this is to allow for members of the Senate to make their ways into the chamber this afternoon. And that particular directive is guided by the standing orders of the House that gives the Speaker the powers to direct that quorum bell is rung for 10 minutes and a further 5 minutes in the event that at the lapse of 10 minutes, the Senate will not have reached the requisite quorum. As the quorum bell rings and more senators keep making their ways into the chamber this afternoon, allow me to take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon, where we now will be looking at the doping menace threatening Kenya's impeccable global reputation in athletics, this being a motion that will be moved by Senator Samson Cherargei, that are aware that in 2018, Kenya was placed under Category A by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and since then 40 Kenyan athletes have been banned by either the Athletics Integrity Unit, that is AIU, or the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, popularly known as ADAC, and has led to a situation whereby the Kenyan athletes have to undergo intense testing before participating in major events, and this has immensely affected the reputation of Kenyan athletes and the standing of Kenya in the international sports arena, where it is currently ranked at number 5. In the motion, concerned that despite the high number of alleged doping cases, Kenya has only one World Anti-Doping Agency, popularly known as WADA, approved a blood testing laboratory, forcing it to send urine tests to Qatar as well as South Africa for analysis, and that the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAC, is taking too long to address the doping menace, which is likely to affect the state of preparedness of athletes in the upcoming 2024 Olympics Games in Paris. The Senator for Nandi County seeks to have the Senate resolve that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts do come up with modalities that can help achieve increased testing, intelligence gathering on athletes, and doping awareness as well as program. In collaboration with the Athletics Kenya and the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, NOC, do vet all training camps, coaches, trainers, and other athlete handlers. The Senate also resolved to initiate investigations at Anti-Doping Agency Kenya, ADAC, to identify as well as sanction all responsible officers liable for the menace of doping, and in collaboration with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, do finalize pending investigations as well as recommend prosecution of individuals involved in giving these banned substances to athletes. And finally, the Senate do resolve that in collaboration with the Minister of Health, identify as well as revoke licenses for medics, pharmacies as well as hospitals responsible for the prescription of the commonly abused drugs by athletes. This will be a resumption of debate, as debate on this particular motion was interrupted on 14th of March. The year is 2023. This particular motion has a balance of 2 hours and about 42 minutes, where we expect senators to be making their contribution in regards to the proposals in this particular motion. The compensation of Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing of the United States Embassy in Nairobi is a motion that will be moved by the Senator for Machakos County, Senator Agnes Kavindu Mudhama. And in this particular motion, the Senator seeks to have the Senate resolve that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs advances friendship and matters cooperation between the United States and Kenya by supporting the eligibility of the Kenyan and American victims, as well as their personal representatives, surviving spouses, and next of kin in the Victim Compensation Fund. And this is pursuant to the Justice for the United States Victims of State-Sponsored Terrorism Act. Also, the Senate resolves to have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs partner with the Ministry of Health to explore subsidized medical treatment for the surviving victims of the bomb blast. This will equally be resumption of a debate on this particular motion that has a balance of about 3 hours. Senators are also this afternoon set to consider the institution of measures to curb incessant high electricity costs in Kenya. This is a motion by the Senator for Marsabit County, Senator Mohamed Chute, that aware that energy is an essential factor of production and its total consumption is a major determinant of performance of the economy, with its cost as well as reliability spying or stifling economic growth. Noting that there is imbalance in matters demand and supply of power, coupled with payments by the Kenya Power and Lighting Company KPLC for the produced power not consumed, and fluctuation in the foreign exchange rates contributing to the high cost of electricity, and appreciating that Kenya has made strides in diversifying its power sources with geothermal plants, as well as offering tremendous potential for the zero carbon source of power, already producing nearly 1 gigawatt of power. In the motion, the senator seeks to have the Senate resolve that the Standing Committee on Matters Energy do undertake an inquiry into the contract signed by independent power producers detailing the cost, capacity and duration of the contractual agreements and their implications on affordability of electricity in the country. The Committee on Energy is also set to address matters discrepancy in the cost of electricity sold to Kenya Power by KenGen and imports from Ethiopia, as well as independent power producers. The other aspect is the diversion of electricity generated by Lake Turkana wind power to the national grid, bypassing the inadequately supplied northern frontier counties of Marsabit and Samburu counties. Let us now listen to the developments from the chamber.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Mr. Speaker, sir, today the following paper, Senate, today 13th April 2023. Reports of the Auditor General on 1. The irregular payment of conference facility and daily subsistence allowance in the Homa Bay County Assembly. 2. The financial statements for the Laikipia County Executive State and Public Officers Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme for the year ended 30th June 2022. 3. The financial statements of the Laikipia County Revenue Board for the year ended 30th June 2022. The financial statements of the Laikipia County Emergency Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. The financial statements of the Laikipia County Enterprise Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. The financial statements of the County Executive of the Kakamega for the year ended 30th June 2022. The financial statements of the County Assembly of the Kakamega for the year ended 30th June 2022. The financial statements of the Samburu County COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. the financial statements of the Bungoma County Education Support Scheme for the year ended 30 June 2022. The financial statements of the Olkalau Municipality for the year ended 30 June 2022, and the financial statements of the Kitui County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme members for the financial year ended 30 June 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Chairperson Standing Committee on ICT, you have a paper to lay. You can proceed to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Before I read this, I'd like to assure the House that I'll be very short. Mr. Speaker, sir, if it was my wish, I would have just sent a link or a QR code for the members. But I know some people, like my friend Senator Alwale, will have problems reading. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology.
Senator Allen, if you're making your statement under Standing Order 56, we will get there.
Sorry?
Yes, because I thought you had a paper to lay according to the business
statement
contained. But if you're making a statement as the chair of a standing committee under Standing Order 56, we are yet to get there. All right?
Thank you.
So you may now proceed to lay the paper, not to make a statement.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 13th April 2023. Report of the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology on its consideration of the County Printer Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
We'll tell you. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable Senators, kindly take your seats. I need to make a communication. Senator Nyamu and Senator Keroche, you're out of order together with Senator Chirange. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, Senator Tony Nikoskona Simbaze from the Parliament of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Senator Tony Nikosikona Simbaze is the chairperson on the Finance Portfolio Committee and the chairperson Eswatini's Disciplinary Tribunal on contraventions by parastatals under the Public Enterprise Unit. He is also a member of the Pan-African Parliament and a rapporteur of the Committee on Monetary and Financial Affairs. He is in the Senate as a guest of the Senator for Tana River, Senator Danson Mungatana MP. The Senator is making a second visit to Kenya as the head of delegation to the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance, which has over 25 countries in the continent, where he serves as a member and the treasurer to that group. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish him a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Tana River, the Honorable Danson Mungatana, to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to acknowledge also to join you in welcoming a fellow senator, a very highly respected man in the Kingdom of Eswatini, to this chamber and to this country. Mr. Speaker, theirs is a kingdom and their protocols are very, very stiff. But he is a man of great standing in their country, highly respected. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in their parliament, whenever the king and the prime ministers and so on, they are opening, he must be present. We happen to serve together with this great gentleman in the Pan-African Parliament. He is also our rapporteur in the Monetary and Finance Committee of the Pan-African Parliament, where I serve with him. He's a resourceful person, a person of great standing, a man we respect very much. In fact, in Kenya today, Mr. Speaker, he's leading a delegation of the entire representation of the North, South, East and Central Africa to a UN meeting, in which that meeting, Mr. Speaker, they are doing capacity building so that our members can operate at a higher level when they go to represent us at the United Nations Assembly. So, Mr. Speaker, I am very delighted to welcome the Honorable Senator Tony, and I thank you that you have been able to create time to receive him. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Senator Chirange and Senator Tabitha Keroche. This is the second time you are out of order. The third time, you know exactly what will befall you. So kindly take note. Honorable Senators, I have another communication to make. In the public gallery, we have 34 students accompanied by 2 teachers from Acacia Academy in Kitengela, Kajiado County, who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Senator for Kajiado to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I wish to join you, Mr. Speaker, to welcome the students or people from Acacia Academy in Kitengela. As you know, you are aware, you are in Senate, where I serve here as a senator for Kajiado, and my colleague also, Senator Peris Tobiko, who happens to be a member of Parliament in the previous Parliament, is also a senator nominated. And I want to invite, to welcome you to the Senate to learn more about the Senate. And I'm very sure Acacia Academy is a very renowned institution or school in Kajiado County, with a primary school and a secondary school. I happen to know the owner of the school as a citizen of Kajiado and an investor in Kajiado in very many fronts. So I want to say that you're most welcome, I know you learn much more about what is happening here, and I'm very sure also you'll have something to take back home. May God bless you, and feel free, and I'm very sure we will meet outside to interact more as you get the way out. Thank you and welcome very much.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53.1, the Honorable Enoch Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget regarding the status of Kenya Revenue Authority collections over the last 6 months. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the amount of revenue collected by Kenya Revenue Authority for the period between October 2022 to March 2023. Speaker, number 2, they should outline how much of this revenue the government has paid out in terms of debt, both internal and external, during the said period. And lastly, explain the immediate plans the government has put in place, if any, to cushion Kenyans from the current economic crisis to ensure that their basic needs are met. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm afraid that the statement that has been made by Senator Wambua is not in good faith. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, the collection of revenue in the Republic of Kenya has quadrupled. Unlike during the handshake moment when Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta were mismanaging the economy, Mr. Speaker, sir. They were killing businesses. They were massacring businesses, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange.
And therefore it is not in good...
Senator Chirange, if the chair is speaking, you yield.
I have yielded.
Now I'll refer you to Standing Order 53. Three, where a statement has been requested from a committee pursuant to paragraph 1, the Speaker may allow comments in relation to the statement for not more than 15 minutes. In allowing these comments, is either to add weight or give more angles to allow the committee to which this statement is going to be committed to look into. It's not a debate to oppose the statement. So stand guided accordingly. The work that the statement that you're making, that is the work of the committee. Let them come back with such a report. Okay, so do not preempt the work of the committee. What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, and I don't really need to get into this kind of conversation, but Mr. Speaker, it is not right for Senator Cherargei to impute improper motives on a statement made by a colleague senator. To say that the statement, categorically to say the statement is not made in good faith, the Speaker, I pray that you guide us.
Senator Wambua, it is the chair that approved that statement. No statement gets to the floor of the Senate without my approval. And before I approve a statement, there are certain tenets, there are certain requirements that that statement must meet for it to be approved. Having been approved by the chair, Senator Chirengei, then you cannot bring that angle that it was made in bad faith. In so doing, you're basically sitting in judgment of the chair's decision to allow and approve this statement to come before the Senate. And therefore, that statement, that the statement requested by Senator Wambua is indeed made in bad faith, you have to withdraw that particular statement.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw the use of word not made in good faith, but this statement should have been requested to include even one financial year, Mr. Speaker. To add comments as per Standing Order 53, every financial year is done within a specified period between June and June 1st. And therefore, while I have tremendous respect for my brother, Bishop Senator Wambua, that he has the right, and Mr. Speaker, with utmost respect, I don't doubt your judgment. What I was just saying is that if you look at this statement, even if any ordinary Kenyan, the revenue collection in this country has improved. Because what we used to see, Mr. Speaker, because Understanding Order 53, it says comments. If you look at the previous regime of collecting taxes, there was what we call, and then there was what we call economic massacre against businesses. And Senator Tabitha Karanja, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, is an example of what was happening before. He's a living victim that is there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you look at President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Mr. Speaker.
Chirengei, as you make your comments, what do you want the committee to do? That's what I want to hear. But don't make a different statement altogether. A statement has been requested. In addition to what Senator Wambua has requested, what is this in addition to that you want the committee to look into?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why Senator Sifuna is excited about you today, but that is a story for another day. Mr. Speaker, what I want the committee to, but it's true, he looks excited. Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether it is too hot in the House or there is something exciting him. Mr. Speaker, what I wanted the committee to achieve is even that committee to invite Senator Tabitha Karanja as a victim of raw collection of revenue in the country, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is in addition to include the collection revenue since the handshake government began in 2018 up to date, so that the country can know the truth, Mr. Speaker. The people who are doing economic sabotage 2 weeks ago and affecting the collection of revenue, Mr. Speaker, cannot be the holier than thou before this floor of the House. Because you cannot be sabotaging the economy and then blame the KRA for not collecting. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we must also investigate the 2 weeks.
Just have your seat. Have your seat. You do not have to impute improper motive to your colleagues as you're making your contributions. I guided you on how to make your comments. I know you have a certain angle you want the committee to pursue when that committee retires to probe the statement that has been requested by Senator Wambua. You can do that in a very dignified and honorable manner without necessarily having to throw jabs at your colleagues, because that's what you're doing, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow it. Conclude your Just proceed and conclude your statement.
Mr. Speaker, while I don't want to vary your judgment, Senate is the house of debate. And so long as I use parliamentary language...
Not name calling.
Mr. Speaker, to be honest, I have said some of the people...
Proceed and conclude your comments.
Okay. But we should not stifle debate in this house, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, what we need to achieve is let us do assessment of revenue collection between 2018 and August of 2022. Then we compare with the 6 months in terms of performance, Mr. Speaker. Because I am aware KRA is doing a lot of reforms that will ensure businesses are protected. Mr. Speaker, because in this country, in conclusion, you cannot go and starve the cow like doing economic sabotage and expect to milk the same cow while you have killed Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this country, we must be honest with each other, Mr. Speaker.
Sifuna. Just have your seat, Senator Cherangei.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at the wording of Standing Order 53, all of us senators have the opportunity to actually request for statements and information. There is nothing that bars Senator Cherangei from asking about the collections of KRA from as way back as 1963. But for you to wait for your colleague to raise the matter before the floor of the House and then to come and bastardize his statement, Mr. Speaker, there is no value that Senator Cherangei is adding to that particular statement. Number two, Mr. Speaker, let people substantiate the things that they are saying here. If an accusation is being made by Senator Cherangei that this House has some economic saboteurs, he needs to substantiate who those economic saboteurs are. Mr. Speaker, as we speak as a Senator of Nairobi, even now, there are protests outside here. We are not the ones who have organized those protests. Why are we not accusing those people out there whistling right now that they are economic saboteurs? We have had a conversation at SBC, we have had conversations at all the other committee levels, at the leadership of this House, that we would want to have sober debate in this House. We are restraining ourselves, Mr. Speaker, because we want to respect the rules of debate in this House. But if every time Senator Cherangei stands up, he uses the opportunity to throw jabs, as you yourself have noted, Mr. Speaker, action needs to be taken against him so that we don't have to sit here and be insulted as we look. Because Senator Cherangei is under the protection of a standing orders. I am sure if we just went outside here, on this street outside here, he will not dare repeat those things that he's saying to us, because we will deal with him. Mr. Speaker, let him not abuse the protection of this House to misbehave.
Honorable Senators, Senator Cherangei, I have tried to guide you. Instead of warning you or ruling you out of order, I decided to guide you. Because indeed, there's an angle you want the committee to pursue. But the way you're putting it across, it's not coming out in the manner that is going to be helpful to the committee. Indeed, when you rose to comment, you said in this House, there's some members seated in this House who are sabotaging the economy. That statement, unless substantiated, as you rise to conclude your comments, you have to withdraw or proceed to name them. We need to know who are these senators who are seated in this House who are indeed sabotaging the economy. If there are none, proceed to withdraw and conclude your comments. I've guided well enough because I know the angle you want to take, and it's a valid angle.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thought I'd say some people, maybe you will give me time to look at the answer and then I can bar. But in conclusion, because I thought I'd say some people are sabotaging the economy. In conclusion, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, you heard Senator Sifuna threatening me that there are some people who are protesting outside. Me, I cannot be intimidated, my friend. I am beyond that. So you cannot come and intimidate me and blackmail me. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude.
Senator Cherangei, as your Speaker and as the Chair, I will only protect you within the precincts of Parliament. Whatever you and Senator Sifuna will do. Please, Senator Cherengei, conclude your comments and avoid the side issues.
Mr. Speaker, through you, you have heard Senator Sifuna threatening me. Who is he threatening? Does he know Kalenjin warriors? He should know. We cannot be threatened, Mr. Speaker. Some of us have gone through worse things than what he is undergoing through.
Senator,
the other day he got a tear canister and he ran all over town like a madman. He cannot intimidate me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, we support. You cannot threaten me, my brother.
Senator Cherengei,
we know how to handle you, munduku mundu.
Kindly take your seat. Honorable Senators, you know, if you look at your names as they appear on the record, they don't start with the names you're given by your fathers or by your church pastors. They start with a title, honorable. That title was not given to you just for purposes of decoration. It was given to somebody who, at whatever circumstance, they must act honorably. Kindly let us uphold that title. What I've just witnessed in the last 2 minutes, I'm afraid we are not living up to that title. Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the statement sought is very important for information to the country and information to the House, as authorized by Article 35 of the Constitution, the right to information. It is when such information is brought to this House, then it is also dispensed to the public so that people with queries can be answered. And I think is very much in order, and it will be good for the nation to know exactly whether there are improvements, or I believe it's very valid, and we expect very fast action, bearing in mind that a financial year starts in June and ends in June. We are still within the financial year, and also being aware that the budget now running is of a previous regime, and obviously collections of taxes go on throughout, irrespective of the government in power. And it is the rights of the stakeholders, Kenyans, who pay these taxes in all forms, fuel, levies, you know, whatever. Even when you buy a sweet, there is a tax. It's important for Kenyans to know exactly where we are and whether we are paying our debts and how much we have done so that as a nation we can think together and be better. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I have read the statement by Senator Wambua. While it is within his right to produce his statement, I just was to inform him that 99% of his statement is a matter of public record. That if you follow the CBK bi-weekly releases that they do, one of the things, there is a specific column for an update of how much revenue has been collected. And normally it's between 2 weeks and eventually what has been collected in that particular month. However, because it is within any senator's right to seek such a statement, I will await the response from the Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Speaker, because it is within his right as a senator to seek that information. Probably maybe he has challenges technologically, for one reason or the other, may not be able to access that information. But maybe just as a comment, Mr. Speaker, I would wish to just add a comment, Mr. Speaker, that as KRA gives us that information, can they pull out a daily records as well, so that I see on Monday the 22nd of March and the subsequent Thursday, the day which Senator Wambua was not within Parliament but was in game skits running around the streets of Nairobi, how much revenue was collected on that day, Mr. Speaker. Because it will help him answer question number 3 of his statement, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Crystal Esigi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the statement sought by Senator Wambua. I think with the current mood of the country, it's a statement that is perfectly in order, Mr. Speaker. In the month of March, Mr. Speaker, KRA pronounced a move to suspend tax refunds, exemptions, waivers, and abandonments. I sought myself a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget seeking clarification from KRA on the scope of this directive. This, as you know, Mr. Speaker, is a move that affects PWDs who are issued with tax exemption certificates. I also sought, Mr. Speaker, clarification on the criteria used in deciding the class of taxpayers affected, as well as the goal of the exercise as a whole. 1 month down the line, Mr. Speaker, I still await a response to address the concerns raised. Currently, the total working population in Kenya's labor force, Mr. Speaker, is 17,042,273, out of which PWDs account for only 361,959. This, Mr. Speaker, translates to only 2.1% in total. Mr. Speaker, does removing exemptions from PWDs really make a significant increase in revenues collected by KRA? This is what I would also like the committee to investigate. If in the affirmative, and alongside this statement by Senator Wambua, I request that KRA also disclose the revenue increase made in March following this suspension. Can KRA tell us if making PWDs weaker has resulted in making Kenya stronger in any way in terms of revenue? I thank you.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for coming up with this very important issue. As you all know, our government is keen on everybody paying taxes. And Mr. Speaker, for this reason, I request the committee to do us a favor. If you just give us figures for the last 6 months, yes, there'll be figures, but they'll be flat, they'll be stale. We need information that can give us an opportunity to do a bit of comparative understanding. And for this reason, Mr. Speaker, I want to request that I write on that statement so that they should backdate the collection of taxes by at least 6 months. And in so doing, we'll now have figures that we shall compare and see whether we are agreeing with Terrorgate that we are improving or we are doing worse than we're supposed to do. But more importantly, that information should include if there are any companies that were supposed to have been paying and did not pay. With special emphasis, Mr. Speaker, to companies belonging or connected to people who are politically correct. And should the committee have any difficulty, they are free to invite me so that I propose some of the names of the companies that Kenyans are worried that have not been paying taxes. We want to know. Yes, if you are naming Kerosha because Tabitha is here, I will also be telling them to give us tax returns for companies like East African Spectre, Brookside, NCBA, and other companies. This is our country. I have paid tax from the time I was 18 years old, and it is not an offense for me to expect that my other fellow Kenyans have also been meeting their tax obligations. Mr. Speaker, armed with this information, we will then be in a position to know, as a House of Equity, what these people owe Kenya so that we make sure that they pay the taxes that they defaulted in paying.
Yes, Senator Mazai.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nataka kusema kwamba swali hili alilouliza ndugu yetu Wambua ni swali muhimu kwa wakati huu. Bwana Spika, tunaelewa kwamba wakati huu ni wakati mgumu sana kiuchumi, na pia vile vile serikali yetu imekuwa na shida pia ya kuweza kulipa madeni yake ya nje na kuweza kulipa madeni tofauti na vile vile kulipa mishahara ya wafanyikazi. Hilo ni jambo ambalo linajulikana sana. Bwana Spika, nafikiria swali hili ni muhimu kwa sababu linataka kujua ni pesa ngapi ambazo hili shirika la KRA limeweza kufanya bidii na kuweza kupata. Tumeona wamekuwa wakigeuza viongozi pale juu, lakini mpaka sasa swala la kwanza ambalo ni la muhimu zaidi ni pesa ngapi zilitolewa kuweza kulipa madeni. Swali vile vile lingine ni kwamba katika muhula huu wa uchumi ambao umeanguka, ni mpangilio gani ambao serikali inachukua kuweza kuona ya kwamba madeni yake ambayo ameweza kuyachukua wameweza kuyafanyia mipango ya kuilipa ama taratibu za kuweza kulipa madeni hayo. Kwa hiyo mimi badala ya kwamba pengine tuone ya kwamba swali hili linataka kuchunguzwa upande wa serikali hapa namna gani, sisi pia kama wananchi ingekuwa muhimu pia tukijua ni kwamba tunalipa kodi na tunataka kujua kodi hiyo imetumika namna gani, ama ikiwa wamechukua wameweka vizuri wameitumia kinamna gani kulipa madeni na mishahara hivi sasa ambapo watu hawajapata mishahara kama madaktari na wengine watapata lini mishahara yao. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Next statement, Senator George Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare on the legal structure and operations of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya, NFDK. In the statement, the committee should state the respective roles of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya and the National Development Fund for Persons with Disabilities. 2, clarify the legal basis for the establishment of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya and consequent formulation of its regulations. 3, indicate the number of beneficiaries of the fund to date and provide the procedure through which persons with disabilities access the fund. 4, state the amount of money that has been appropriated to the fund by the government since 2013 and indicate how it has been utilized. And 5, provide the fund's most recent audited financial statements outlining the fund's asset and the revenue collected from such assets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Asige.
Did you say me?
Yes. Senator Asige Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the statement made by Senator Mbugua, and I thank him for bringing to the first time a discussion about the National Fund of the Disabled of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the National Fund of the Disabled of Kenya is an endowment fund established under the Trustees Act. The mandate of the fund is to enhance social and economic empowerment of PWDs in Kenya. They provide to institutions financial grants of up to 300,000 towards infrastructural development or income generating activities. And to individuals, they give mobility aids and tools of trade. The fund also engages various stakeholders in raising awareness in matters of disability and carry out advocacy and initiatives in a bid to bring changes to legislation, to policy making, and shaping public perception of disability. In my view, Mr. Speaker, the donation of tools of trade to individuals is painfully limiting from the fund. The list includes sewing machines, knitting machines, hair salon equipment, livestock, farming tools, welding machines, and carpentry tools. Whomever you are and wherever you live, Mr. Speaker, access to technology, digital skills, and computational thinking are essential in today's connected and smart world. And there is no signs of these technological advances slowing down. The tools, Mr. Speaker, are archaic and limiting to PWDs. They come with a discriminatory connotation that PWDs can only be tailors, salonists, farmers, welders, and carpenters. The programs provided by the fund, Mr. Speaker, to us as PWDs do not meet the current job market requirements or the infrastructure appropriate to the needs of persons with disabilities. In my close interaction with diverse stakeholders, Mr. Speaker, as the sponsor of the Startup Bill, you don't have to go very far to see that the economy is heavily driven by digital tech and innovation. It is concerning to me that this fund is archaic in its tool of trade, in its perspective of the capabilities of PWDs, and thus needs to be alive to the fact that access to digital tech for many special interest groups have become an essential lifeline, proving to greatly enhance their move towards self-efficacy and everyday life. Mr. Speaker, for example, how does a needy PWD graduate benefit from this fund, considering the limited vocational tools of trade provided? In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, we are in the digital era, and it's important for the fund to indicate what steps they are taking to ensure that they are progressive. Tech is a saving grace for PWDs, Mr. Speaker. We have far more to gain from the use of tech than the non-disabled do. Using myself as an example, as a legislator and as considering my disability, it would have been out of the question for a person like me to reach here at all to make any contributions to this House or to deliver on my mandate were it not for access to digital tech. Mr. Speaker, this statement I would like for them to for them to continue probing through Senator Mbugwa's statement on the relevance of the fund and the tools of trade that they give PWDs. Because, Mr. Speaker, honestly speaking, access to technology has almost been equal to giving me sight itself. I thank you.
Next statement, Senator Richard Onyonka. It's been deferred. Senator Professor Tom Ojenda.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this afternoon I have three statements on different questions. I will start with the first statement, which is the statement on the impending doctor strike in Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise under Order 53 of the Standing Orders to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on the impending strike by doctors in public health facilities in Kisumu County due to salary delays and failure to remit statutory deductions. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee should, 1, appraise the Senate on the reasons for the 2-month delay in payment of doctor salaries as well as the non-remittance of statutory deductions. Secondly, to elucidate on the status of negotiations between the Kisumu County government and the doctors' union to resolve the outstanding issues on salary payments. Thirdly, to indicate the budgetary allocation to the healthcare sector in Kisumu County for the financial years 2021-2022, 2022-2023, stating how funds have been utilized, and lastly, to state the plans, if any, put in place by the county government of Kisumu to support unpaid doctors and healthcare workers and to avert recurrence of such strikes in future. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second statement is on the state of affairs at the Ahero Sub-County Hospital. This is related to the first statement. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the state of affairs at the Ahero Sub-County Hospital in Kisumu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, indicate the current staffing levels at Ahero Sub-County Hospital, as well as measures taken to ensure the hospital has adequate personnel medical supplies and medicine to improve the quality of healthcare services. Secondly, shed light on reports of documented incidents of bullying of patients and employees at the Hero facility and state the steps taken to address the issue. Thirdly, indicate the average wait times for emergency procedures such as cesarean operations and states the steps taken to guarantee timely access to these procedures in order to improve the caliber of healthcare services for expectant mothers. And lastly, to provide an overview of the current state of the hospital's infrastructure and equipment and give a clear roadmap for the renovation and modernization of the facility. Mr. Speaker, sir, lastly, I have a statement on claims of irregular and unprocedural recruitments by the Kisumu County Public Service Board. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding claims of irregular and unprocedural recruitment by the Kisumu County Public Service Board. In this statement, the committee should, number one, provide a list of all the applicants who applied for positions in question, stating their qualifications and experiences. Secondly, state the criteria used to shortlist candidates for positions to the board who were invited for interviews, disclosing the process which was undertaken before shortlisting, stating whether any members of the board were involved in the shortlisting process, stating their role, if any. Thirdly, shed light on the allegation that some board members forced their candidates into the system while other candidates paid money to secure their positions. Fourth, state measures, if any, to disclose and prevent conflict of interest among board members during recruitment process. And lastly, to disclose mechanisms that ensure the recruitment processes are conducted in a transparent, fair, and merit-based manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next statement, Senator Cherangei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Request for statement on mismanagement, irregular procurement, and misuse of funds at the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund, SSDEF. Mr. Speaker, sir, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the mismanagement, irregular procurement, and misuse of funds at the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund, SSDEF. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, that the committee should, one, state why Mr. Mark Wambugu has not been confirmed in the appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund, despite acting as CEO for the last 5 years. Number two, Mr. Speaker, sir, outline the structures that have been put in place by SSDEF over the years to ensure the prudent utilization of resources managed by the fund. Number three, Mr. Speaker, sir, table a comprehensive report on the grants, donations dispersed to the various sports federations in the country, such as sports, football, athletics, among others, as well as a report on any ongoing procurement processes at the fund. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, elucidate on reasons for the failure by the CEO of Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund to SSDEF to appear before the Ethics and Anti-Corruption EACC Commission to respond to the Auditor General's report on massive irregularities and misuse of public funds. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Mgatalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you will notice that in this same afternoon session, we have had two questions regarding national funds. One by the Honorable Senator George Mbugua that relates to the disabled fund, and now the other one by the Honorable Senator Cherargei relating to the sports development fund. Mr. Speaker, the problem with these centralizations of funding is that it creates opportunities for people to steal. Mr. Speaker, a lot of stuff goes on there because people who are mandated, they know they are far away from eagle eyes. So, Mr. Speaker, I want this statement, as the committee looks at it, to tell us how many organizations have benefited from Tana River Country on the Sports, Arts and Development Fund, Mr. Speaker, and how many other counties have actually benefited from this fund, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, to also tell us when are they recommending the firing of this CEO, because we are not feeling anything on the ground, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, under that particular order, we still have 4 statements pursuant to Standing Order 56, statements by chairpersons of standing committees. However, pursuant to Standing Order 45-2, I will rearrange the sequence of our business today to straight away go to prosecute Order number 8, 9, and 10. These are bills that have been stuck for a while at the division stage. So we are going to prosecute those 3 bills so that we get them out. We get them out of the way. If you notice from the last session, these 3 bills have been a fixture in our order paper. We have an opportunity today to deal with them. We go through division so that they can be able to move to the next stage. So I'll call upon the clerk to call the next order. That is order number 8. Clerk, proceed, please.
Order number 8, the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bills number 6 of 2022, second reading, division.
Senator Terms, kindly ring the division bill for 5 minutes.
All the orders goes together for division.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Clerk, read the two other orders so that we deal with them at the same time.
Order number 9, the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, second reading division. Order number 10, the Preservation of Human Dignity and Enforcement of Economic and Social Rights Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2022, second reading division.
Sergeant at Arms, close the door and draw the bar. Before I put the question, honorable senators, kindly log in. So I don't need to tell.
Put the question. You don't have to control them because it's a bill. It's automatic. Okay. So put the question. Then they vote.
I want to believe that we're all logged in. I will now proceed to put the question. Honorable senators, and I proceed to put the question that the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bills number 6 of 2022, be now read a second time. Honorable senators, kindly proceed to cast your vote electronically. We will get to know who has not voted and whether they are experiencing any technical problems. So, honorable senators, worry not. Honorable Senators, kindly take your seats. Honorable Senators, kindly take your seats. Take your seats. Honorable Senators, I do now put the question that the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, be now read a second time. Kindly proceed to vote electronically. Honorable Senators, we move to the third order, and I proceed to put the question that the Preservation of Human Dignity and Enforcement of Economic and Social Rights Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2022, be now read a second time. Kindly proceed to vote.
Order. Order, honorable members. Order, order. Exercise that duty and right. I want to urge you, even when passions are high, we maintain decorum, we maintain respect for each other. Each one of us here is distinctly and individually elected to carry the dignity of the people who elected you in this house. And we don't carry those dignities bestowed upon us by either dancing on the floor or speaking with very high pitches and notes in your voices, or generally showing that you have the capacity to employ your hands instead of your brain. I want to urge you as members that these proceedings are televised, and your electors, your husbands, your wives, your children, people who admire you, Honorable Wanjala, I will not give you the distinction of expulsion. I want you to reflect and see that out of 349 members, if you are the only one trying to look different, then there's something severely wrong. And having been with you, Wanjala, for all these years, I thought osmosis has worked in some form. Honorable members, I want us to bring this debate to an end. Honorable Sabina Chege was given an opportunity to speak. Honorable Wandai was given an opportunity to speak. Honorable Majority Leader was given an opportunity to speak. And all the members who spoke have the right to speak the way they spoke, have the right to defend Sabina or to prosecute Sabina, depending on which school of thought you hold on the matter or which party position you are taking. But the ultimate responsibility and decision lies with your speaker, and I'll bring you a reasoned ruling in due course. Honorable Senior Counsel Otienda, I have tremendous respect for you. Allow me to close this debate now. As my distinguished learned junior, I'm sure you understand very well that when we say we close, we close. I know you are a man who speaks very sensibly. You are unlikely to raise passions. If you have any matter to add to what I'm going to rule, I give you the freedom to write to me a small note. I want to close this matter here. And Honorable Wandai, this was not a motion, so there's no right of reply. Yes. There's no right of reply, and I want order. I need no help. Honorable members, I need no order. Honorable Wandai, you know, let me tell you, members, what has just happened here is not strange. In a democratic dispensation, sometimes we take leave of our senses and do strange things. But the moment you realize that, you quickly recollect yourself and sit back as an honorable member. That's what I urge you to do. As your speaker, I want to go on record as leading an orderly house, a house of reason, a house where when an issue comes and you have the opportunity to speak, speak to the facts and not to individuals or casting emotions that are totally unhelpful and unnecessary. We will make a reasoned ruling that will give you direction and set precedents to assist this House in the future. Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Order, Clerk. Honorable Wandai, what is the problem?
Yeah, you know.
Don't open any.
No, I'm not opening anything, really. You know, Mr. Speaker, these are House of rules and record and procedures. And it behoves all of us, really, to ensure that it conducts itself in a manner that is respectable. And I've been pleading with you, not once, not twice, but very many times, that you have a duty, Mr. Speaker, to ensure this House doesn't degenerate. My point of order really is not about anything about that has been discussed. I listened to you keenly. I've listened to you keenly, Honorable Speaker. And regardless of what else has been said on this matter.
Are you analyzing what I've just said?
What I am requesting you is to indicate to the minority coalition when exactly you intend to communicate on the matter we wrote to you about. That's what I really am questioning. That's not too much here.
Honorable, and you don't need to say those very many words to ask for when is the ruling. You could have just said that. Yes, you could have just said, Mr. Speaker, when are you giving us the ruling? Instead of taking a very long route to arrive at where you are standing. I will give you a ruling, Honorable, and in the manner that I feel deemed fit, and it will come very soon. Next order. Not on the debate, I have closed.
Not on the debate.
Otieno Amolo. I hope you are, I will stop you, Senior Counsel, if you wade into the debate that I've closed. Give him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a member of parliament familiar with the rules, and as a lawyer, I respect the guidance you've given. I will not speak on that issue. My point of order is different. I see my friend, the Honorable Didmas Barasa, wearing a garb on his head, which I believe is unparliamentary. I believe the rules have always been, unless it changed today, Mr. Speaker, that you are only allowed to wear a garb in your head if it is religious. I do not believe that the red herring the Honorable Didmas Barasa is wearing is a religious one. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I urge that you guide him and others who have been similarly dressing like him. Because some of them mistake, and that's the problem with the previous debate, rights versus privileges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Otieno Amolo, thank you very much. I have seen several members sporting similar gear. I'll look at the rules and code, and I can give you a communication later. The very last point of order, Chepkonga, and don't open debate that we have closed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, generally, yes, I follow rules and yes, guidance, and you know, I don't shout myself. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 83, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned. The reason why people are shouting here is people stand on a purported standing order.
Point of order.
Point of order. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order number 83, let me read it for the benefit of members here. And I'm hoping that whoever sits on your chair, Mr. Speaker, will enforce this. We cannot purport to be ignorant of what the law says. We approve our own standing orders, and then we come here, putting up our hands, shouting at the Speaker, and then you say, I rise on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, let me just read Standing Order point number 83. Any member may raise a point of order at any time during the speech of another member, stating that the member rises on a point of order, and that member, Mr. Speaker, I must emphasize, shall, it is mandatory, be required to indicate the standing order upon which the point of order is based. Mr. Speaker, if somebody rises on a point of order and he doesn't quote any, I expect whoever sits in your speech, whether yourself or the Honorable Wangare here, should rule that person out of order, should sit and look for what is a standing order in which they are standing on. The reason why we become unruly, we even sabotage the debate in this House, Mr. Speaker, is because people don't know what standing order they are standing on. Mr. Speaker, Article 150 of the Constitution states very clearly, there shall be debate, there shall be freedom of debate and speech. And that speech, Mr. Speaker, is guided by the standing orders of this House. And these are our own rules. If you think that these rules don't matter, just bring a motion and we expand the rules, Mr. Speaker, so that we become a lawless debating chamber. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chepkonga. You have said what the Speaker would have said. Standing orders are here to guide our debate. The only variable sometimes, Honorable Chepkonga, is that sometimes a member on the floor is visibly out of order. and it becomes innocuous to